YWCA of Rochester and Monroe County has a long history. We have advocated for and served women and families for nearly 140 years. While the services we offer have changed as women's needs have changed, our mission of empowering women and eliminating racism has remained a constant for well over a century. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, the YWCA had many chapters throughout the region. One of our earliest and strongest chapters was formed in 1922 in the Clarissa Street neighborhood. The Unity Club was the first YWCA organization for Black women. They sponsored dinners, musical events, and prayer groups, as well as advocacy for African Americans. The Clarissa Street branch provided housing, recreation, and activities, and even offered interracial Sunday services. During the first part of the 20th century, Clarissa Street was a hub of activity for Rochester's Black population. The many Black-owned businesses, restaurants, music clubs, and stores provided employment and entertainment for the neighborhood. The Clarissa Street YWCA was a social center for approximately 1/3 of Rochester's Black residents in 1938. All YWCA chapters in Rochester consolidated into one place in 1949. The original building that housed Clarissa Street YWCA was eliminated in 1962 when Highway 490 divided the city and completely changed the Clarissa Street neighborhood.
Going to Camp Ananda was the highlight for the summer. We were able to do all the things we couldn't do in the city. We learned how to swim, how to row, how to shoot a bow and arrow, and just meet other girls from other sides of the city. That activity really expanded what we were used to. We knew there were other things that we could do other than just hang around in the city, go to the parks, but these were activities that we actually took part in and learned from.
I was a member of CORE, which was Congress of Racial Equality, which had a chapter here in Rochester. It's a whole row of restaurants along that highway. This is a highway that a lot of the African ambassadors travel from Baltimore to DC. And one of them children wanted to have something to eat. And of course, they were not permitted to eat. What they provided for the African American was they had to cut a hole in the side of the building. You push your money, you make your order and push your money through the hole, and they push your food out it. We drove from Rochester to Baltimore, and as soon as we crossed into Maryland state line, both sides of the highway were lined up with state troopers. So the car that was behind what I was riding in was students from RIT, and they joined to support us. And the young man driving the vehicle was African American, and the females in the car were white. They were students from, as I said before, from RIT. So as soon as they crossed over, the flashing lights stopped. They were pulled over. We drove down just a bit distance, but stopped and pulled on the side. And he was given a summons of a Mann Act, MANN. That's an act where females are taken and used for prostitution, which of course was not true, but they knew we were coming through, so this is just what they used. When they were able to drive off, we met in a park. Always, that's where we assemble at these kinds of things. We had prayer, much wonderful singing, and that's when the driver told us why they gave him a summons for a Mann Act. After our singing, we would then went out various ways to sit in at the restaurants. When we sat in at restaurants, there always was a male and a female. It might have been a white male and an African-American female, but we purposely chose to sit at the counters. When you sit, the restaurant owner, of course, would read us off the property, how they read us off the property. State trooper was inside the restaurant, provide them with the document that they would read, which was the wordings were such to read us off their property. It's so interesting. State troopers there, but not to protect us, to keep us safe. And when they read us off the property, we immediately exit that restaurant and went to the next. And the restaurants had these round stools you sit on, not booths, at the counter. That's what most of us would sit in. So that was our project. And it did turn out as a blessing. After we finished that Saturday sitting in, they did drop the color line, and it made it possible for those that come on behind us to actually be able to sit inside the restaurant, order a meal, and eat. So that was a blessing. But it was truly dangerous for us. I have 2 children, and I wanted my children to be able to walk into a restaurant, order the food of their choice, and pay for it, and not have to go around the side and stick their money through a cut hole in the wall. It was something I just needed to do, and I did it. I want things better for my children. And it wasn't a sacrifice. I needed to do it to bring about a change.
The YWCA has a mission of empowering women and has had that mission for a long, long time. We switched from just empowering women to eliminating racism, empowering women. The women that we were serving at the YWCA, 85% of them are women of color. So, in order to really support them, we needed to go beyond just the services. We needed to be engaged in changing the hearts and minds of people around them in our community. So we decided that we needed to do more than just the services in terms of being able to make the change.
I absolutely stand on the shoulders of the powerful women who came before me. And as I blaze the trail for others behind me, YWCA Rochester and Monroe County will continue to serve women in this community with dignity and respect. Earlier, you listened to Mother Lee's inspirational words. I needed to do it to bring about change. The question that needs to be answered today by me, you, and everyone that hears my voice is, what are we going to do today to inspire future generations? What does a just and equitable community look like to you in the 21st century? What will you do to make this happen? The YWCA stands ready to bring about change. Will you join us? We have great hopes for the future of racial equity and women's rights, not only in Rochester, but across New York and the nation. We are the YWCA. We will get up and do this work until injustice is rooted out, institutions are transformed, and the world sees women, girls, and people of color the way we do: equal, powerful, and unstoppable.